Hello and welcome. We now have Andrej Nikolaidis from Montenegro and Ofeigur Sigurdsson from Iceland. How did it feel when you first heard about the award? How did you hear? What happened?
Well, it was a quite funny story because I was at my work and the phone rang and I answered and it was a journalist from one of daily newspapers in Podgorica. Says, "Congratulations, you just won the European Union Prize for Literature." And I thought it was a practical joke. And the last thing I wanted was to be a subject of a practical joke. But they told me, no, it's okay, you can check. And of course I was delighted because, you know, I always thought that Sun is my novel. The Sun, is quite strange and a dark book. But I guess all the writers are thinking the same about their work.
Ofeigur, how was it for you? How did you find out?
Actually, I was last spring. I was in the Highlands, and I got a phone call. You know, up there, I didn't think my phone would work there, but I got a phone call and announcing this, and I didn't quite, get it. But until he said, "It's okay. You can be happy about it." So,
okay. Yeah. Can you just tell us where do you write? So when you're sitting down every day, where do you prefer to write your stories, your books? And Andrej?
Write on my laptop, usually in my kitchen or at my balcony, because in Montenegro never is so cold that you can't really go to a balcony.
And what is the view from your balcony?
It's quite nice because I see the sea and I see hills covered with olive forest. Wow. I mean, it's not that I need that kind of inspiration for my work because nature and its beauty never really is an inspiration for me, for my writing. But
it's nice to have.
Yes, of course.
Yes. And Ofeigur, how about you? Where do you write?
Well, I had my office at home, but I was living above a sleazy restaurant that fries hamburgers.
Yes.
And they opened up at 11 o'clock, and the view, the chimney was right in front of my window, and it turned on with incredible noise and disgusting smell at 11 o'clock in the morning, so I had to wake up very early and be finished.
So you adjusted your writing to fit.
Yeah.
What is the influence of the culture, the history, your experiences of being from that country? Do they feed into your story, do you think? Ofeigur?
Well, obviously, you read when you're young local literature. So when I was young, I was reading the sagas, and the literature from the Middle Ages. And so that, of course, had a lot of, impact. So in later years, around 20, you start to look at the world literature. I think it's, in general, I think in Iceland you start with this local. They feed they feed the children with the Middle Ages, and then you grow up from there.
Yes. And what about you, Andrej?
My writing is really rooted in Montenegro and its society, in particular in Ulcinj, which is a small country on Montenegrin seaside. Very interesting because it's really multicultural town with lots of mosques, churches at the same place. Catholics live there, Orthodox people and Muslims, of course. And it is a really interesting surrounding for my stories. Because one of my ideas is that it doesn't really matter what is your religion. We have the same problems, we have the same issues.
How does it feel when you're writing an award-winning book? Andrej?
The Sun in particular was a very hard book to write. The book before that, Mimesis novel also, it was a piece of cake. And the novel after The Sun was a piece of cake. But The Sun was quite a struggle. My wife Sanja told me that she never wanted me to write a book like that again because it was impossible to live with me at that time.
And what about you, Ofeigur? How was the process of writing Jon?
Well, it went extremely fast. I had been struggling with a manuscript for 6 years that had been rejected by all the publishing houses, and I thought I was just coming to an end. So, but suddenly this voice came, and in just one winter, in 1 year, it was from the first idea till it was published. Wow. Within a year. So it went extremely fast, and I worked, very hard and changed all the routines.
Yeah. Ofeigur, you said your story came very quickly, and you heard a voice. What was the inspiration for this story or this character?
Well, I was traveling in the south of the country with a friend of mine who is an archaeologist, and I was lucky enough to spend a few days when he was working, just following him and checking out ruins and stuff. And he was doing some measuring at this location where there is a cave, and a man lived there for one winter in the 18th century, and I just thought that was so amazing. And he wrote an autobiography at the end of his life, and so I went back. I had read that story 10 years earlier, so I went to see what he had written about this winter in the cave.
Wow.
And he didn't say anything. He was very precise and detailed with all his life, but in this winter in this cave, he just said one line. He said, I stayed there this winter and had a very good and relaxed life there. So I found it something strange was there, like he was hiding something. And looking up at old annuals and manuscripts of the description of that period and this winter, I was trying to figure out what was happening. I found out that it was the worst winter in the history of Iceland. It was a terrible situation. He dwelt in a cave just below a volcano that exploded. The whole area was covered with black ash for months, so there was no difference between night and day.
No.
And there's another glimpse in his book that says that the only thing he did there was writing. So I found out he was writing to his wife, who is in another part of the country. And but these letters are lost, and somehow these letters just started to come through me. So I started to write his wife letters from this situation.
Very nice. What about you, Andrej? Where did your inspiration come from?
Well, I tried to make a very difficult or even bad or even repulsive, nasty character, which one can really despise. The characters like Dostoevsky's characters, for instance. And then I wanted him to tell my readers very intelligent things about Montenegrin society. So to create some kind of tension between the character, which we of course don't approve, and the things he's saying, which we must approve. I hope I made that kind of tension. Inspiration was obviously an Austrian writer, Thomas Bernhard, which I adore above all other writers. It is some kind of a small existential novel. You can compare it to A Stranger by Camus, for instance.
Right. It's interesting because both your books are very rooted in the countries you've come from and the history of those countries and the societies. But one of the interesting things about this prize is it's a platform for those books being translated into other countries and being read in other countries. How does that feel for you and for your view on the writing of your country?
To be honest, translations are, in my opinion, the most important thing for an author, because you have an urgent need to be heard outside, to be read outside of your country, to see how your text works in quite a different context.
And what about for you?
I thought Thomas Bernhard said translators were the destroyers of novels.
How do you feel about the idea of your novels being taken and read in other countries and in other languages?
I think I haven't thought so much about it, but I think, there's this wrong belief that books that are very local, just stay local and cannot be translated. But, if you look at world literature, a lot of it is very local, and it's just the art of translation to get that, right. So I'm not worried. I think if it's very local, it works better, globally, or
Yes. What's next for your writing? Where have you any ideas of what you would write next? Have you started? Are you changing? Andrej, why don't you start?
Well,
Tell us.
I'm working on a novel called Postponement. And I think during next year it will be done. Yeah. So I'll see, will I publish it right after it's written, or I will just wait to see if I can do something better from it after some time. Because, but I don't know about other guys, but as a writer I'm constantly writing. Even when I'm not actually writing, I'm thinking about those scenarios, novels, and things like that. And what is other to do for a writer? Yeah, that's it.
It's the experience of coming to the awards ceremony and meeting other writers in similar situations but from different countries. How has that been? Has that been inspiring? Has that been surprising? Ofeigur, why don't you say from your point of view?
Well, I say it's intimidating and also inspiring. It's good to know that I somehow feel that these authors you're meeting, they're coming from inside of a culture. They're not, one of these major writers of Europe. They're just coming from the inside of the core of cultures. So that's what I appreciate, and that's what I find interesting.
Andrej?
Yeah, I'm coming from the borders or even margins of the European culture, and it is very interesting for me. Of course, then I'm in the Brussels for a first time, and I don't really meet a lot of writers from other countries. I know a lot of writers from former Yugoslavia, but we all speak the same language. We are all from the same culture. So certainly some of this will find its place in one of my books.
Yes. Andrej, Ofeigur, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Joining us. Thank you.